30 million were slaughtered in the 19th century, and at one point the entire North American continent was left with only a few hundred surviving American bison. But how did a species once on the brink of extinction become an ingredient featured in five-star restaurants? The journey begins on the frozen prairies, where the American bison survived the Ice Age and extreme conditions that shaped its distinctive muscular structure. Today, behind that wild image stands a tightly managed system. Herds are naturally grazed, monitored with modern technology, and processed under strict standards to produce exceptionally lean, high-protein red meat for the premium market. In this video, Agriculture Insight explores how wilderness is transformed into a billion-dollar value chain, and why its meat can cost up to 3 times more than premium Angus cattle beef. Nearly 500,000 American bison are now concentrated in North America. Yet up to 90% of them belong to commercial ranches rather than living fully in the wild. In large conservation areas, they frequently wander onto paved roads because the flat surface requires less energy to cross and keeps their hooves warmer than trudging through snow, creating the iconic traffic phenomenon known as a bison jam. With a lifespan of up to 25 years, bison have endured decades of brutal winters to retain their title as the largest land mammals in North America. Though often mistaken for buffalo, they are in fact a uniquely adapted survival powerhouse, standing about 1.8 meters tall and weighing over a ton with muscular strength capable of tossing predators aside. Armed with 60-centimeter horns and exceptionally thick hides, an adult bison has virtually no natural enemies. Even grizzly bears and wolves rarely risk a direct attack. But don't let their calm appearance fool you. Behind that massive frame lies the ability to burst to speeds of up to 60 kilometers per hour, 3 times faster than a human. Their seemingly placid demeanor masks an unpredictable temperament. In national parks, it is bison, not bears, that are responsible for the highest number of visitor injuries. To understand the power of the American bison, everything begins with their most critical biological cycle, the rutting season, which takes place from July to September each year. During this period, males compete fiercely for breeding rights, creating an exceptionally strict natural selection process. Bison follow a polygynous system. To assert dominance, males paw the ground and roll in dust mixed with urine, a method of dispersing pheromones to display strength and attract females. When direct confrontations erupt, they clash using their horns and thick frontal skull structure, absorbing and delivering tremendous force. This process ensures that only the strongest genetics are passed on, allowing bison herds to maintain endurance and survival instincts refined over thousands of years. After the rut ends, females enter a 9-month gestation period, similar to humans. Calving typically occurs in April and May of the following year, when fresh grass is most abundant to help mothers recover. Remarkably, the entire reproductive process unfolds naturally without the need for medical intervention. Before reaching 150 kilograms in just about 6 months, a newborn American bison calf weighs only around 25 to 30 kilograms. Born in spring with a distinctive reddish-orange coat, it blends almost perfectly into the dry prairie grass, a crucial survival advantage against predators. Unlike domestic cattle calves, bison calves enter the wild almost immediately. Within 10 to 20 minutes of birth, they can stand. Within hours, they move with the herd. In the first weeks of life, keeping pace over several kilometers a day, even crossing rivers or rough terrain, is essential to avoid becoming prey to the gray wolf or the grizzly bear. The first 6 months are critical for immune development and skeletal growth. Rather than relying on growth-promoting antibiotics, commercial bison systems follow a minimal intervention model. Calves depend entirely on their mother's milk, which can contain up to 12% fat, significantly higher than conventional cow's milk. This dense energy source supports rapid bone expansion, thick muscle formation, and the growth of a dense winter coat capable of withstanding temperatures as low as 40 degrees Celsius. By around the 7th month, the reddish coat gradually sheds and turns dark brown, and natural weaning begins, marking the transition to a fully grass-based diet. On modern ranches, rotational grazing across vast pastures is widely applied. Constant movement in search of natural forage forces sustained muscular activity, contributing to lean muscle structure, low fat content, and the deep red color that defines bison meat's premium value in the market. However, productivity is not driven by nutrition alone. Bison possess a tightly structured social system and are physiologically highly sensitive to stress. Even a single intense disturbance can elevate cortisol levels and heart rate for extended periods, directly affecting post-slaughter meat quality, particularly tenderness and water-holding capacity. For this reason, modern ranchers act as quiet stewards. They rely on remote monitoring systems, including drones and environmental sensors, to check herds and water sources while minimizing direct contact. The goal is not to tame the wildness, but to manage it with minimal interference, preserving the herd's most natural state until the moment of processing. Although they roam freely outdoors, operating a billion-dollar supply chain requires precision. Every American bison is fitted with an electronic ID tag to track its individual health records and growth schedule. Managing animals that weigh up to a ton cannot rely on brute strength. Instead, ranchers use a squeezed chute, a specialized steel restraint system that gently presses against the animal's sides, holding it still for a few seconds during medical checks without causing stress or injury. This is a critical control point that upholds premium standards. No antibiotics, no hormones, the core values of high-end bison meat. From here, the bison's journey splits into two strategic paths. Individuals with superior genetics, typically large-framed bulls with documented bloodlines, move on to specialized breeding auctions. While average prices are often below $10,000, elite specimens can reach $25,000, positioning them as long-term reproductive assets rather than commercial livestock. The rest enter the commercial segment, where they complete their final feeding phase before moving into the red meat market, a luxury niche rapidly expanding amid growing demand for ultra-lean, all-natural protein. In North America, only about 400 to 600 American bison enter processing each day. A very small number compared to the more than 30 million beef cattle handled annually in the United States. This contrast defines the unique nature of the bison meat industry. Not mass production, not massive assembly lines, but a limited value chain focused on quality rather than volume. After being rendered unconscious in accordance with animal welfare standards and completing the initial preparation stage, the carcass is rapidly chilled to below 4 degrees Celsius within the first 24 hours to control microbial activity and stabilize muscle pH. A particularly critical step for bison due to their low fat content, which makes the meat prone to cold shortening if cooling is not precisely managed. Skin removal requires considerable skill as bison hides are much thicker and more tightly attached. Even a minor error can affect the deep red muscle structure beneath. Unlike the industrial beef sector that relies on high-speed conveyor systems, bison fabrication is carried out more slowly by highly trained butchers. The firm muscle structure and minimal marbling demand precise cuts along the natural seams of each muscle group, maximizing lean yield while preserving the value of premium cuts such as tenderloin, short ribs, and round. With 25 to 40% less fat than conventional beef and higher iron content, bison meat is distinguished by its deep red color and rich yet clean flavor. Many premium cuts are aged for 7 to 14 days for vacuum packaging and distribution to upscale restaurants and specialty retail markets. Notably, commercial demand has not driven the species toward decline again. Instead, it has created an incentive for conservation. Specialized private ranches invest in land and herd expansion, helping the North American bison population recover to approximately 500,000, a powerful example of conservation aligned with economic value. And you may not know this, the very existence of the American bison is a critical factor in maintaining prairie ecosystems. They are not only the foundation of a billion-dollar food industry, but are also classified by ecologists as a keystone species, one capable of reshaping the biological structure of entire regions across North America. Through their constant movement and selective grazing on the tops of tall grasses, bison function as a natural biological trimming system. This allows sunlight to penetrate lower layers of vegetation, directly stimulating native seeds to germinate. The result is a more diverse, multi-layered, and stable plant community compared to grasslands subjected to static grazing. Even more fascinating are the shallow depressions they create by rolling on the ground, known as bison wallows. These formations can persist for 20 to 30 years. During the rainy season, they transform into micropond ecosystems, providing essential water sources for insects, amphibians, and migratory birds across otherwise dry prairies. Even their shed winter fur serves as valuable nesting material, increasing survival rates for native bird species. At a time when more than 70% of North America's native grasslands have been converted for other land uses, the return of the bison represents more than economic value. It stands as a model in which commercial activity and ecosystem restoration can coexist, a complete symbiosis between utilization and conservation. Nicknamed the king of the global meat industry, beef cattle hide, the part least talked about, accounts for up to 15% of the total economic value of each animal. Its rebirth begins with tons of raw hides separated from the carcass, still moist, still fatty, still carrying tissue residues. Before reaching this point, modern skinning techniques in processing plants preserve nearly the entire surface area of the hide, leaving only a thin layer of flesh attached. At the processing facility, high-pressure water jets are sprayed evenly across the hide to wash away all impurities while bringing its moisture level back to balance, helping limit shrinkage during the deeper treatment stages. From here, the soaking drums, massive steel cylinders holding water 2 to 3 times the weight of the hides, initiate the first transformation. The drum rotates slowly, creating a continuous circulation that allows water and mild chemical agents to penetrate the fiber network, causing the hide to expand from the inside out. This expansion naturally loosens the hair from its keratin structure without heavy abrasion, exposing a clean, raw surface ready for the fleshing machine to remove any remaining fat and tissue and bring the hide to a uniform thickness before tanning. Next comes the most critical stage, chrome tanning. Inside the chrome drum, trivalent chromium ions, chrome-3, bond with collagen, locking the fiber network in place and compressing the entire stabilization process into less than 2 days. The result is wet blue, a semi-finished hide with its signature blue tint created by chromium complexes. Immediately after, retanning and dyeing continue to push color deep into each collagen fiber, giving premium leather its softness, durability, and exceptional abrasion resistance. Few people know that raw cattle hides are among the United States' strongest agricultural export commodities, surpassing even cotton and fresh pork, products traditionally regarded as cornerstones of American agricultural exports. No longer limited to wool, sheepskin is emerging as a new value driver, pushing the global shearling industry past $25 billion per year. In semi-arid livestock regions like Australia, the shearling hub of the southern hemisphere, sheep are raised on fiber-rich pasture, supplemented with hay, grains, and trace minerals to stabilize wool fibers and skin quality. However, once value shifts toward the hide, two risks become critical: parasites that damage hair follicles and abnormal moisture that causes dirt accumulation, both of which can slash the value of shearling by up to half right at the farm. When processing begins, the carcass is suspended on an overhead rail and fed into a rotary de-hiding machine, where mechanical clamps secure the body as the rotating drum applies consistent pulling force. By controlling tension and speed, the hide is removed in one continuous sheet, minimizing cut lines and preserving the integrity of the collagen layer, along with the fine wool. From this point on, these intact pelts become the central focus of the tanning process, where raw hide still carrying traces of blood, capillaries, and thin flesh must be completely removed in the drum, without disturbing even the microscopic structure of the hair roots. Unlike cattle hides, which have dense collagen and high mechanical resistance, sheepskin is thin and rich in lanolin, requiring the entire tanning process to operate at lower pH, gentler mechanical action, and in a much narrower temperature range. A tiny deviation can trigger collagen shrinkage, surface discoloration, or wool collapse, the very reasons premium shearling can be up to 3 times more expensive than smooth leather. After tanning, the natural wool, prone to uneven curl and inconsistent distribution, must go through a specialized wool finishing machine. Using a slow-rotating pressing roller combined with a gentle stream of warm air, the machine straightens, fluffs, and equalizes wool density, creating the thick, smooth, resilient surface that defines luxury shearling. What many people don't know is that a high-grade sheepskin can increase human body warmth by up to 12% in cold environments. But in return, every finished shearling pelt consumes up to 70 liters of water and generates nearly 1 kilogram of solid tanning waste, raising enormous questions behind the comfort it delivers. In Southeast Asia, the region supplying most of the world's python skins to the European market, each hide represents the culmination of an entire life cycle, earned through the constant risks faced by those who raise these reptiles that can grow several meters long. Python farms are built with thick walls, steel-locked doors, and individual enclosures. Every gap must be under 1 to 2 centimeters, because anything wider allows a python to slip through and escape with constricting force that is extremely difficult to control. Their diet consists of rats, rabbits, or small poultry, fed every 5 to 7 days to maintain steady growth and preserve the pigmentation on each diamond-shaped scale, the key factor determining the value of the hide. Stress or malnutrition can dull the pattern, drastically reducing its commercial worth right at the farm. After 12 to 18 months, when size and pattern reach their prime, the snake is anesthetized for processing. Because python skin forms a large tubular structure, the removal begins with a straight incision along the belly. The rest is peeled by hand, slowly and evenly, to preserve the signature scale zones, especially the dorsal section, which defines the luxury tier. The skin is then washed, degreased, and lightly tanned for several hours to stabilize the collagen without blurring the microscopic pattern, something synthetic materials still cannot replicate perfectly today. Yet only about 10 to 15% of python skins meet premium grade standards, despite the enormous risk and labor involved. This uniqueness, no two hides ever share the same pattern, combined with limited supply, keeps python leather priced far above many conventional hides in the world of luxury fashion. Goats raised in Rocky Mountain regions or semi-desert climates typically produce hides with a tougher epidermis and higher abrasion resistance, while goats raised in humid lowlands tend to yield softer, more elastic leather. This is why the industry draws clear distinctions between African goatskin, Middle Eastern goatskin, and South Asian goatskin. Husbandry practices have a direct impact on hide quality, starting with skin parasite levels, especially ticks and mites, which must be tightly controlled, as even a small lesion can downgrade the hide during tanning. In processing, animals are ideally handled at 6 to 12 months of age for hide collection, when the fiber structure has stabilized but has not yet thickened like that of fully mature goats. After harvesting, the hides are preserved either with salt or air drying depending on the country. In India and Ethiopia, traditional sun drying still accounts for a large share due to limited electricity and cold storage capacity. Once in the tannery, goatskins undergo the liming step to open the fibers. The key difference is that goatskin swells more uniformly than cowhide due to its finer fiber architecture. Plant-based tannins such as sumac or mimosa are often used for vegetable tanned goatskin, giving it a light natural aroma and high durability, ideal for premium shoes, gloves, and bookbinding. After the base tanning stage, goatskin is shaved down to a precise thickness of just 0.6 to 1.2 millimeters, taking advantage of its characteristically fine yet durable fiber structure. The surface is then drum-dyed, allowing the natural grain to show through without requiring heavy coatings. Finally, the leather is replenished with oils, dried, and finished with a thin, protective layer, creating a dry-to-the-touch feel that remains tough and flexible. The very reason it has become a favorite material for premium shoes, wallets, and gloves. Nicknamed the leather bird, the ostrich derives up to 70% of its economic value from its hide, a material defined by its iconic raised follicle bumps, forming a natural 3D pattern that no tropical leather or synthetic material has ever been able to replicate. On the farm, ostriches are raised on a diet rich in fiber, grains, and minerals to maintain skin integrity. They are harvested at around 14 months of age, when the hide reaches ideal thickness, elasticity, and well-defined quill bumps suitable for industrial processing. At the tannery, the hides are first packed in a thick layer of salt to stabilize collagen, then rigorously graded by size and bump clarity, factors that determine whether a hide enters the luxury handbag and wallet segment or is rejected from premium categories altogether. The subsequent wet processing stage restores softness before chrome tanning and alum retanning build tensile strength, thermo-mechanical stability, and allow the leather to last up to 20 years. After tanning, the hides are stretched and dried under controlled conditions to retain oils and surface stability, then moved to the dyeing stage, where each piece can take on hundreds of different shades. Recently, the global ostrich leather market has seen significant disruption as U.S. sanctioned tariffs interrupted trade flows, revealing the industry's heavy dependence on South Africa, a semi-arid ecological hub that supplies nearly 70% of the world's ostrich leather. Have you ever seen a luxury handbag casually swimming underwater? Sounds impossible, right? But that's exactly what a crocodile is before it becomes a $20,000 accessory in the premium leather world. Here, farms operate as fully controlled systems. Each animal is raised in individual pens and fed fresh fish to ensure the belly area develops with an even tone and free of blemishes. Leather processing begins when crocodiles reach 2 to 3 years of age. They are electrically stunned to render them completely immobile before entering the skinning area. Here, the belly cut method is used to preserve the largest, most uniform panel of scales. The hide is then separated manually using a surgical-grade thin blade with slow, deliberate movements to avoid micro tears. One crucial step is defatting. The deep-seated lipids between collagen bundles must be removed entirely. Even 3 to 5% residual fat is enough to cause uneven tanning, blotchy coloring, and long-term structural weakness. Next, the hide enters chrome tanning to stabilize collagen, create suppleness, and improve tensile strength. After tanning, each hide is thinned to below 1 millimeters, while keeping the scale pattern intact. Inside modern ateliers, crocodile leather is gently heated to open the grain, then coated with an ultra-thin protective finish that locks in the sheen and enhances the visual depth of the scales. This finish is what gives crocodile leather its core appeal, a look that's rare, expensive, and unmistakably unique. Driven by this demand, even though only about 1.5 million skins are used each year in luxury fashion, their market value still reaches $4 billion, solidifying crocodile leather as one of the highest margin exotic materials in the world. According to statistics from the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, the population of wild turkeys in North America has exploded to around 7 million individuals. This is not the familiar golden roasted turkey on Christmas or Thanksgiving tables, but the wild turkey whose rapidly expanding population has spread into suburban and residential areas, bringing with it a host of problems for humans. In reality, these birds, weighing more than 10 kilograms, not only defecate indiscriminately on sidewalks, yards, and vehicles, but also spread E. coli bacteria and mold in human living environments. In response, many U.S. states have classified wild turkey hunting as a legal biological control measure to reduce conflicts between humans and wildlife. However, hunting this bird is not easy. Wild turkeys have vision 3 times sharper than humans and can detect unusual sounds within a radius of more than 100 meters. Therefore, hunters must remain hidden for hours, tracking footprints or scratch marks on the ground to locate the flock. The main hunting seasons occur in spring and autumn. Spring coincides with the breeding season, when males are easily lured by calls imitating female turkeys, while autumn is when they gather in large flocks and move to find food. According to professional hunters, between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. is the golden hour, when turkeys are most active but least alert. To attract their prey, hunters mimic the characteristic turkey calls every 15 to 20 minutes, combined with realistic decoys placed in the fields. Each shot must be perfectly accurate, usually aimed at the neck or legs, since their heads move constantly.
You got it. There you go.
After taking down the prey, hunters clean and prepare the meat, which is considered flavorful, firm, moist, and highly nutritious, quite different from farm-raised poultry. According to an IPBES report, overabundant wildlife species such as wild turkeys cause an estimated more than $120 million USD in damage each year. Another invasive species causing significant damage across North America is the Canada goose, whose population has surpassed 4.4 million individuals. When gathered in high densities, these birds not only overgraze vegetation, leading to habitat degradation, but also damage commercial crops such as corn, soybeans, peanuts, and other local produce. According to the Federal Aviation Administration, Canada geese are the second most dangerous bird species for aircraft collisions in the United States, just after the turkey vulture. As a result, controlling their population has become essential. In practice, hunters often use shotguns combined with decoy models, lifelike goose replicas, or imitate the bird's distinctive calls to lure flocks closer. When the signal is given, dozens of hunters raise their guns to the sky. The Canada goose hunting season typically runs from September to February, coinciding with their southward migration to escape the cold. Each hunt lasts around 3 to 5 hours, and with a team of 8 to 12 hunters, they can bring down between 30 and 50 birds in a single morning, depending on weather and terrain conditions. Although the scene may appear intense, the goal is not sport hunting, but rather a licensed wildlife control effort conducted within regulated hunting seasons and strictly following state laws. While hunting has long been considered a traditional method to reduce the density of invasive bird species, this approach carries several risks. Gunfire causes noise pollution, consumes ammunition, and startles other animals. Therefore, in recent years, many regions across North America, the United Kingdom, and the Netherlands have shifted to a more sustainable technological solution, using laser systems to protect crops. These devices operate by emitting green laser beams with wavelengths between 500 to 520 nanometers, sweeping continuously across the targeted area. To birds, the light appears as a solid object approaching, prompting them to fly away immediately without harm. Each laser station can cover a range of over 2 kilometers, functioning automatically through motion sensors or radar tracking, and is programmed to operate 24/7. Compared to hunting, the laser method reduces operational costs by over 60%, creates no noise pollution, does not harm animals, and decreases bird congregation incidents at airports, farms, and residential areas by up to 90%. However, the technology has its limits. Its effectiveness drops in bright sunlight or complex terrain. And there remains another issue. If deterrence is not combined with population control, the geese population will continue to rebound, threatening ecological balance in the long term. Nevertheless, the combination of modern technologies like laser systems with traditional biological management is paving the way for a more humane, sustainable, and effective approach to managing invasive bird species. Sometimes, it's gentle enough to save a bird perched near a power line. Though separated by thousands of kilometers and located on opposite sides of the Pacific Ocean, farmers in the United States and Australia share the same nightmare enemy: the feral pig, one of the 100 most dangerous invasive species in the world. Not a native species, they were brought by humans on maritime voyages hundreds of years ago. Over time, their population has exploded beyond control. In the United States, feral pigs have spread across 39 states with more than 9 million individuals. In Australia, they now occupy 45% of the continent, and without control, their population could increase by 86% in just 1 year. To curb their spread, both governments encourage farmers and hunters to take part in control efforts. According to researchers, at least 70% of the population must be eliminated annually to counter their rapid reproductive rate. The most commonly used trap today for capturing wild boar is the corral trap. First, farmers must identify where the herds are, usually in lowlands, dry streams, swamps, or the edges of dense forests. Their activity is easy to spot. large, moist hoof prints and deep furrows in the soil. After locating the area, bait is scattered consistently for 1 to 2 weeks, so the pigs become familiar with the site and lower their guard. Once they do, traps over 1.5 meters high are erected, initially left open so the pigs get used to them before trigger mechanisms are installed. Today, technology provides significant support. Motion-detecting cameras and mobile apps allow users to monitor traps remotely and close them with a single command, capturing up to 50 pigs at once. Wild boars have a sense of smell 10 times stronger than that of hunting dogs, but poor eyesight. Therefore, hunters must approach upwind. The rifle, with a range of up to 600 meters, is the most common and effective tool. With running speeds of up to 40 kilometers per hour and an aggressive temperament, a single missed shot can turn the hunter into the hunted. Some use specially trained dogs to track, surround, and hold the animal in place, allowing the shooter to aim precisely for the head or heart. In vast rangelands and dense forests, helicopter hunting is the fastest option. Each trip costs 4,000 USD and can eliminate dozens of pigs within hours. The scene resembles a first-person shooter game, but the goal is entirely real: to protect crops, livestock, and agricultural ecosystems. However, one question remains: is there a more effective and sustainable way to control these animals? Interestingly, one innovative yet old-fashioned solution has emerged in Brazil. Farmers have revived a wartime tactic by digging deep defensive trenches around their fields to keep wild boars out. These trenches are typically 1 to 1.5 meters deep and over 1 meter wide. When pigs try to approach the fields, they encounter a deep ditch blocking their way. Unable to jump or climb across, they often fall in, and once they're down there, getting out is nearly impossible. The method is cheap, low maintenance, and environmentally friendly, but labor-intensive and difficult to apply on a large scale, especially in rainy regions, where trenches can collapse or fill with mud. Moreover, due to their highly destructive and aggressive nature, the captured wild boars are not released back into the wild, but are instead culled entirely, as releasing them would only allow the animals to continue causing damage in other areas. The processing of wild boar meat presents a striking contrast between worlds. In the United States, it is tightly regulated. Only 15 federally inspected facilities are authorized to operate, processing around 1,500 to 2,700 animals each year under strict health and safety protocols to prevent disease transmission. Yet in countries like the Philippines or in impoverished rural regions, the same animal is not a biohazard, but a blessing, a precious source of protein where nothing goes to waste, and every hunt feeds a family. And despite countless efforts, from wild turkeys and Canada geese to feral pigs, no nation has yet found a perfect solution to the invasive species crisis. Is there a more long-term, sustainable, and humane way to control this destructive invader? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Shark hunting has existed from ancient times to the present day, a task that demands extraordinary strength and advanced skill. The process begins with selecting fishing grounds, areas where sharks are frequently found. such as coral reefs, nutrient-rich ocean currents, or zones where schools of prey fish gather. Fishermen employ specialized techniques, such as gill nets and encircling nets, massive vertical walls of mesh that can stretch for several kilometers. The mechanism of this method is simple. When a shark swims into the net, its gills, fins, or teeth become entangled in the mesh, preventing it from escaping. While net fishing yields large catches, it also poses risks to unintended species, including endangered ones. For this reason, many countries strictly regulate soaking times, mesh sizes, and require the use of bycatch release devices. That is why, alongside nets, many fishermen also choose the longline method, allowing them to better control the catch. With ultra-durable carbon fiber rods, lines capable of withstanding hundreds of kilograms, and specially designed hooks, they brace themselves for a grueling battle of strength against the ocean's apex predator. Once a shark is hooked, reeling it in becomes an exhausting test of endurance, often requiring at least 2 people working together. The golden key to successful shark hunting also lies in the use of small bait fish and sound-emitting devices to lure them closer. On larger fishing vessels, sharks are sometimes processed directly on board, where they are stunned and then cooled by pumping ice-cold water or circulating seawater into their stomach or gills. At the end of the hunt, the prized catch is taken straight to port, where major seafood hubs and processing plants stand ready to receive it. In Indonesia, one of the world's largest shark fishing nations, bustling fish markets serve as the main trading grounds, where freshly landed sharks are auctioned before moving on to processing and export. Fishermen use sturdy bamboo poles to carry prized catches weighing hundreds of kilograms from the docks into the bustling fish markets. This grueling work demands not only endurance and precise coordination between shoulders under strain, but also resilience, years of experience, and swift handling, since shark meat is highly perishable. Experts, traders, or factory representatives then assess the quality of the sharks, checking freshness, degree of damage, flesh elasticity, gill color, and eye clarity. Based on these criteria, the sharks are classified by size, species, and intended use before being sold directly, sent to processing plants, or exported to international markets. At processing facilities, once the sharks are received and preliminarily handled, the most crucial stage begins: fin removal, the part that determines up to 80% of a shark's total value. Skilled workers swiftly use razor-sharp specialized knives to slice through the shark's body, separating the dorsal, pectoral, and caudal fins with practiced precision. Each fin is carefully trimmed to remove excess flesh and thoroughly cleaned before being sorted. The fins are then graded by size, weight, and quality, as even the slightest differences can significantly impact their market value. After the fins are removed, the shark's body is opened to extract the fillets. Remarkably, sometimes female sharks are found to be pregnant. In such cases, the embryos inside are taken out and separated, often sold as a special product or used for scientific research. In Japan, shark processing facilities, such as those at Kesanuma Port, which accounts for nearly 90% of the country's shark fin trade, operate on an industrial scale, handling hundreds of tons of sharks every day. Here, record-length sharks command staggering prices at auction, with some specimens fetching several times the value of ordinary catches and soaring into tens of thousands of dollars. Once classified, millions of shark fins are sun-dried or frozen to preserve their value before being exported. Ultimately, these prized fins become the key ingredient for one of the world's most luxurious and controversial dishes, shark fin soup. Today, the largest consumer markets are in China and Hong Kong, where shark fin soup is regarded as a symbol of status and wealth, frequently served at weddings and lavish banquets. Beyond the fins, shark meat is also an important part of the harvest, regarded as a nutrient-rich food source with protein levels even higher than lean beef. Its flavor is often compared to tuna or chicken, and it is mainly consumed in domestic markets or processed into dried and canned products. But the story does not end there. The ingenuity of humans in conquering the ocean's top predator goes far beyond imagination. In Iceland, fermented shark, known as hakkarl, is considered one of the world's most unusual and challenging traditional delicacies, dividing people worldwide into two camps: those who revere it as a cultural treasure and those who find it almost impossible to stomach. What makes it even more remarkable is that this dish must be made from the Greenland shark, a deep-water species that can live for more than 400 years, whose flesh is toxic when eaten fresh due to its high levels of trimethylamine oxide and ammonia. For this reason, Icelanders are compelled to process it through fermentation, a technique preserved for centuries. Instead of burying the meat underground or in sand as in the old days, many modern facilities in Iceland now ferment it in wooden containers, a more contemporary method that still retains the dish's wild essence. The hefty slabs are stacked in large wooden boxes, designed with ventilation gaps to allow fluids to drain. Under the weight of the meat itself and the pressure of the wooden lid above, tissue fluids and toxic compounds such as ammonia begin to seep out. Over the course of several weeks to months, natural enzymes quietly break down proteins, gradually removing toxins while producing the dish's notorious pungent aroma that overwhelms many on their first encounter. The fermentation involves no chemicals or seasoning, relying solely on thyme, natural bacteria, and Iceland's cold, damp climate. After 6 to 12 weeks, once the meat has matured sufficiently, it is taken out and hung on wooden racks or outdoor frames to dry. At this stage, the outer surface darkens into a tough crust, while the inside becomes chewy, whitish, and saturated with a bleach-like ammonia odor. Have you ever tried the powerful flavor of this delicacy? The result is dense, whitish meat that releases a pungent ammonia-like odor, yet is regarded as a culinary treasure of Icelandic tradition, appearing only on special occasions at a price of around $20 to $30 per kilogram. From offshore hunts to industrial processing lines and unique traditional dishes, the journey of sharks illustrates how humans have utilized this apex predator to meet culinary and commercial demands worldwide.